Are you in need of some legal advice, but you just don't think you can afford it? Well, think again, because on Tuesday, it's free. We love that word. At the Albuquerque Convention Center. And today, we're so pleased to welcome Judges Alisa Hadfield. Hi, Alisa.
Hello.
Judge Alisa. And Shannon Bacon. And they are co-chairs of this year's Law-La-Palooza. So good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
It's great to have you both here. I know everybody could use some free legal advice out there. And Law-La-Palooza, for those who don't know, is the biggest free legal fair in the state. So, Judge Hadfield, tell me, why is it important to our community in the first place?
Well, this is a really tough economic time, and there are a lot of members of our community who are struggling financially. And for those who are struggling financially, who have legal issues, specifically civil legal issues, if they feel like they can't afford an attorney, it's really a stressful time. But here's an opportunity for our lawyers in our community to volunteer their time to answer some questions and help them get pointed in the right direction.
It's wonderful, and it's been so successful in the past. And so I want to ask you, Judge Bacon, who should attend Law-La-Palooza?
The Law-La-Palooza is really targeted towards people that are struggling financially, low-income folks.
Okay.
Individuals who really can't afford to hire a lawyer. It's a pretty expensive endeavor. But it's, we welcome everyone who has legal questions and legal problems to get them some advice next week.
That's great. I mean, I think a lot of people stop themselves from pursuing legal action just because of the money issue, even though they know they could maybe win the case or they could maybe find some justice in their situations. So tell me, what are the most common problems you find that people come to you with?
Well, these days, a lot of people are struggling with issues related to foreclosure or bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah.
With heightened stress, we see a lot more families struggling with divorce or separation.
Okay.
So I would say those are the most common things we see, as well as immigration issues also are pretty common.
Sure, I would imagine that. And have you had any specific issues? I know there's certain confidentiality things that you have to obviously stick to. However, we always like to hear stories from the sources. So, I mean, is there anything you can share with us about any specifics?
We tend to steer clear of the specifics, but the more complicated issues that come up tend to involve questions or problems that are not just in New Mexico, they're in multiple states, and they kind of take on a life of their own. And so if somebody finds themselves in that situation, coming to the Law-La-Palooza is a great place to get advice.
I love the name, by the way. I mean, that's just so clever and so easy to remember. And there's a whole process really to it. I mean, it's not just say, oh, hey, you have a problem, come on in. There's actually a process. Can you tell us a little bit about how it plays out?
Sure.
Go ahead.
When you arrive, and I just want to mention too that there will be free parking at the convention center at the parking lot at Broadway and Martin Luther King.
Broadway and Martin Luther King, great to know.
It's in ballrooms B and C.
Okay.
You'll come in, you'll be greeted, you'll give some information and get a number.
Okay.
And then when your number is called, you'll be met by one of our intake coordinators who will collect some information so that they can match you up with an attorney who can help you with your specific questions.
See, I love that. So they match you up with just the right person for your specific case. Oh, that's fantastic. And then once that happens, what's the next step?
After that, depending on how many people show up, there will be a little bit of a wait while we get you matched up with the right lawyer. And then the attorneys are told to spend about 30 minutes with each client, giving them some really sound advice, what the next steps are, whether they need to hire a lawyer, if they need to file certain documents in court.
That's great.
Or if it's not a problem at all, simply a letter will take care of it.
And that's great too, because I think a lot of people it might be the opposite issue. They might think they have something and they really don't need much more help than whatever that few minutes that they're getting. And 30 minutes I think is very generous, but what if somebody needs a little extra time or attention?
At that point, the attorney can do a couple of things. They can either agree to continue to meet with the client, sometime in the future, or direct them to one of the many legal service providers that we have volunteering there, whether it's Legal Aid, Pegasus for Children, organizations like that can really provide long-term consulting for low-income folks.
That's great. I mean, I think that the legal system is incredibly overwhelming for people who don't know a lot about it. So it's great that they'll have somebody there on hand to guide them. I mean, I think that's the main thing. And can you guide people into knowing what they need to actually bring with them as far as, what they need to take with them to Law-La-Palooza?
Everything that they have with regard to that issue. So for example, if there's a real estate issue, you should bring any paperwork that you have with regard to title deeds. If they've received any letters or legal pleadings, bring those as well.
You mentioned bankruptcy and foreclosure, so if there's any kind of letters from the banks or from credit agencies, okay, good to know. Now, I know there are going to be some people there that may be hearing impaired or may not speak English, so will you have interpreters there to assist?
Yes.
You will? Oh, good.
We will have Spanish interpreters, Asian languages, ASL. So we try and make it as accommodating as possible so that everyone who shows up has an opportunity to meet with a lawyer.
That's great.
We really don't want to turn anybody away.
I love that, because nobody should be excluded. This is an opportunity for so many people to be a part of something and get some help that they really need. And you also do some pro bono work. Can you tell us about that?
A lot of our pro bono work is related to this event. It takes all year to put this event together. We've recruited over 100 lawyers to help out next Tuesday, over 30 paralegals to assist, judges, people from the Attorney General's office, things like that. So that's really the thrust of our pro bono efforts in the community. That's
incredible, like I said, incredibly generous, and for so many people to get on board with it. I think that's wonderful as well. And you did this last year. I know it was a big success, and I know people appreciated it, and they will certainly appreciate it once again. So let's give all of our viewers all the details once again of Law-La-Palooza so they can attend. We'll actually put it up on the screen.
All right, great.
Let's tell them free legal fare, of course. Law-La-Palooza. You can't forget the name. It's very catchy. Tuesday, October 25th from noon to 6 p.m. That takes place at the Albuquerque Convention Center, and as you mentioned, free parking. And tell them once again where the parking will be.
Oh, it's at the parking center that's at the intersection of Martin Luther King and Broadway.
And in ballrooms B and C. So you definitely don't want to miss out. This is so wonderful, again, that you're doing this. And hopefully, if you have any problems or any questions, you just take the time in the afternoon, come on out, get the answers you need, and these wonderful women will help you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. And coming up next, how the Ability Connection is taking the dis out of disabled. Don't go away.